Okay, so picture this. A packed Camp Nou. It's the club's anniversary. They're desperate for a win after a tough loss in Europe. The stage was perfectly set for a celebration. But what happened next? Well, it was 90 minutes of pure, unadulterated chaos, and it all kicked off in the very first minute.
Yep, you heard that right. A goal against them inside 60 seconds, a comeback led by a player just returning from injury, and a manager who was absolutely fuming, even though his team won. We're going to break down exactly how Barca managed to claw their way back to the top of the table, if only for a day.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning. And I mean the very beginning. Barcelona's big return to their legendary stadium was supposed to be a party, but Alavés clearly didn't get the memo.
Before fans even had a chance to get comfortable in their seats, Alavés, who are, by the way, one of the best set-piece teams in the whole league, they win a corner. Barcelona just can't get the ball clear, it drops to Pablo Ibanez, and boom! Just like that, it's 1-0 to the visitors. An absolute jaw-dropper. You know, this quote from the commentary just nails the feeling inside the stadium. You could literally feel the air go out of the place. The entire home crowd was just silenced. Coming off that tough loss to Chelsea in the Champions League, this was the absolute worst start imaginable.
So how do you even respond to a punch in the gut like that? Well, for Barcelona, the answer came pretty quick. It was time to fight back, and one guy in particular decided to put the team on his back.
Rafinha, on his first start since coming back from injury, was just on another level. First, only 7 minutes after they went down, he hits a perfect cutback for Lamine Yamal to absolutely rocket into the roof of the net. Then, before the half-hour mark, he does it again, this time setting up Dani Olmo to put Barca in the lead. That fire and intensity he brought was exactly what they'd been missing.
But here's the crazy part. This whole comeback story, it almost didn't happen. Right before Olmo scored to make it 2-1, Alavés was through on goal. The keeper, Joan Garcia, was already on the ground, but he somehow pulled off what commentators were calling a miracle save to keep the score at 1-1. I mean, talk about a game-changing moment. That was it.
So, with the momentum completely flipped on its head, it was time for Barcelona's big guns up front to take over. And it was two players, a seasoned pro and a teenage phenom who were at the heart of literally everything.
Let's start with Dani Olmo. After being a little quiet recently, he just exploded back to life in this game, grabbing 2 massive goals. He got that crucial go-ahead goal and then the one late on that finally let everyone relax.
And then you have Lamine Yamal. This kid, what can you even say? He was a constant nightmare for the defenders, scoring that massive equalizer to get Barca back in the game, and then setting up Olmo's second goal with a perfect pass. It was the perfect 1-2 punch, really. You had Yamal, who was the creative spark, just opening up the defense, as one person put it, like they weren't even there. And then you had Olmo, the cold-blooded finisher, who scored with both of his shots on target. One created the chances, the other buried them.
But listen, that 3-1 scoreline, it really doesn't tell the whole story. Not even close. The second half got super tense, really tight, and was just filled with controversial calls from the ref that left the Barcelona bench absolutely furious.
Oh, outraged is probably the right word. From what reports said, the coaching staff genuinely felt like the referee was targeting them, with one call after another going against them. Get this, 2 of manager Hansi Flick's assistants got red cards and were sent off. There was a huge penalty shot for a foul on Lamine Yamal that was just ignored. Then another incident with Dani Olmo in the box was also waved away. No VAR check, nothing. You can see why they were losing their minds on the sideline. But if we step back and look at the numbers, the data tells a slightly different story. This thing called expected goals, or XG, basically measures the quality of the chances a team creates. And Barcelona's XG was 2.21 compared to just 1.53 for Alavés. So what that tells us is, despite all the controversy, Barca was creating the better chances and, statistically, deserved the win.
All right, so with the game still on a knife edge and tensions through the roof, Barcelona really had to dig deep to make sure they got those 3 points. The last few minutes were a total nail-biter.
Alavés threw everything they had at them in the final minutes. And honestly, it took some heroic defending to keep the lead. The young defender, Paul Cubarsí, made this unbelievable block that for sure saved a goal. And the keeper, Joan Garcia, had to pull off another incredible stop. And then, finally, the sigh of relief. Deep into stoppage time, Barcelona hits them on a lightning-fast counterattack. And guess who's at the heart of it? Of course, it's Yamal and Olmo again. Yamal slides a perfect pass through, and
Olmo just calmly slots it home. 3-1, game over. The Camp Nou could finally breathe.
So, the final whistle blows on a wild afternoon. We got a comeback win, a trip to the top of the table, and a whole lot to talk about after the match.
And this result was absolutely massive for Barcelona's season. It launched them into first place, at least until their rivals Real Madrid played the next day. It was a huge statement to the rest of the league.
But here's the fascinating twist. You'd think the manager, Hansi Flick, would be over the moon, right? Nope. Despite the win, he came out and said, "Look, I'm happy we got the points, but we have to improve a lot." He thought they were sloppy and needed to be sharper. He was already demanding more.
And that really leaves us with this final question. On one hand, they showed incredible fight. Their star players are on fire and key guys are coming back from injury. But on the other hand, their own coach is saying it's not good enough. So, was this chaotic, dramatic win a sign of a team with championship DNA? Or was it a warning sign of bigger problems? I guess we're about to find out.